From Showtime and A24.
What do you love most about Whitney?
Comes a new series unlike any other.
Well, where do I even start?
Academy Award winner Emma Stone.
I like how you fight for us.
Nathan Fielder.
Money doesn't really matter when it's about doing the right thing.
And Benny Safdie.
You guys are strong, right? At the end of the day, you're going to survive, right?
Next question.
New episodes of The Curse, streaming now on Paramount Plus, only with the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan.
With Kroger brand products from Baker's, you can make all your favorite things this holiday season. Because Kroger brand's proven quality products come at exceptionally low prices. And with a money-back quality guarantee, every dish is sure to be a favorite.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Whether you shop delivery, pickup, or in-store, Kroger brand has all your favorite things. Baker's, fresh for everyone.
What's that place you've always wanted to try? Well, you're there, sharing plates with...
Just one bite.
Or on second thought, maybe not sharing. It's that good. When you're with Amex, it's not if it's going to happen, but when. American Express. Don't live life without it.
Hey, it's Christine from Storybirdie. Today on the show, comedy writer Peter Mehlman talks about going to a health spa.
The worst part about it is all anybody's talking about, everybody else on the hike, all they're talking about is health and fitness and, and what to eat. And it's like so boring, like I'm bored to death. And I find a group of smokers sitting around at a health spa. There's like 6 people who are just sitting around in a circle and talking and laughing and smoking away. So in 2 days at Canyon Ranch, I've watched NBA playoff games and taken up smoking.
Today on the show, comedy writer Peter Mehlman talks about going to a health spa and his new novel, #MeAsWell. Stay close.
Hey, it's Peter Mehlman. You're listening to Storyworthy.
Welcome to Storybirdie. My name is Christine Blackburn, and I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Whether you're a longtime fan of the show or a new listener, welcome to Storybirdie. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the show last week with comedian and writer Abby Schaffner. Peter, Abby, this girl, she's so funny. She's so witty. She told a story about her last words to her father. Like you can let go. That's what she wanted to say. That's what she wanted to say to her father who was passing. Mm. But that's not what she said. What she said was, Dad, Joe got a blowjob in church. Joe being her friend and just trying to kind of get a reaction from her dad, who was dying. And he did, kind of perk up. It's very funny. Go back and listen to that, you guys. Abby Schaffner, she's just great. But not today, because today I'm here with Peter Mehlman. And you've been on the show before, Peter.
I have.
Your story was the meaning of 69.
Right.
And what was that in a nutshell? Because that's like 4 years ago.
Yeah, that was the story of when I was a kid. And the number 69 kept popping up and kids around were laughing. And I was like young and too young to understand it. And I kind of went on this mission to try to figure out what 69 meant.
And then in the end, you did not get the right information, right?
Well, in the end, all I heard, I had this idea that it had something to do with sex, and in the end, I had overheard some guy in a pizza place saying to his friend, and he swears that he's 69 to right in Cunningham Park.
Oh.
And so I had, a friend who I was looking into this, researching it with, and I went back to him and I said to him, well, I've learned something.
Yeah.
And it's 69, it's a verb.
It is a verb.
It is a verb.
But that was before, of course, you could Google something. So what was your resources? Were you looking at encyclopedias or dictionaries?
I looked once at a dictionary, and
They don't
well,
have
actually,
numbers,
I
do
didn't.
they?
No, I didn't look for that. I remember, like you would hear all this kind of slightly sexual stuff on FM radio then.
Yeah.
And, I heard somebody talking about the song Light My Fire by the Stones, and they said it's got the long version, for long, drawn-out nights,
Yeah.
and the short
Yeah.
version for quickies.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's a quickie? And I remember looking that up in the dictionary, and and they said something about, like, it was a hastily produced project or something like that.
Oh, interesting. Well, that could be. I mean,
Yeah.
that could be the description. That's so funny. I remember stuff like that too. I remember when that song came out, "Blinded by the Light." Not Bruce Springsteen who wrote it, but then when the other band picked it
Yeah.
up, Manfred Mann,
Yeah.
right? And they sang rap. We thought it was wrapped up like a douche.
I know, yeah.
But it wasn't. It was revved up like a deuce, like a car.
Yeah.
But that was so scandalous. And also, when that...
I didn't even know till now that it was revved up. I thought
Yeah.
it was wrapped up like a deuce, which I have no idea what that meant. But yeah, now that makes more
No,
sense.
it's revved up like a deuce. Yeah. And when you think of Springsteen, now it makes even more sense,
Yeah,
in a
sure.
way. But the other song that I remember was that song, "Fly Like an Eagle." Who sang that? Fly like an eagle. Da-na-na.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I can't remember who sang that. But in that song, I think they said "damn" or something. And, of course, that was scandalous. It's so funny.
God, I was just listening to him the other day, and I can't remember his name. But
It'll just come out. It'll just come out. It'll just come out in mid-sentence. You guys, today I'm so excited to hear from Peter Mehlman because we're going to talk about his new book.
Steve Miller Band.
There you go, Steve Miller Band. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whew.
Yeah,
That is,
got
thank
that.
goodness.
Now we don't
Yeah.
have that hanging over our heads.
That's exactly right. We sang that song, by the way, in 6th grade course. And that's what I remember. Oh, no, we sang Hotel California. And when they said, this could be heaven or this could be hell, that was also problematic. Can you imagine? My daughter hears everything. In fact, I think my daughter won't swear because it'll be like passé because I swear. Maybe it's same as she probably won't smoke marijuana because, like, it's what her old lady did. You know, although we call it "Mama's going to the kitchen." That's what we call it. Hey, Peter, your new book, a novel called #MeAsWell, is really, really good. I was just mentioning before we started the podcast that it's pretty dense.
It's dense, but it's weirdly fast reading because I think the density is the main character's inner thoughts are frequently laid out, and they're all kind of conversational thoughts. The main character is a Pulitzer Prize-winning sports writer who made one off-colored joke.
Right.
After
And it was
all
hardly
these years.
hardly
Yeah.
even off color.
Yeah, it was debatably off-color.
Totally.
And, it goes viral and threatens to ruin his career. It takes into account several of my kind of preoccupations. One, I have this long sports background, but, I really see nothing but hypocrisy and money in sports, so I have kind of like this dim view of sports. So that was one of my preoccupations in the book. And then, the fact that you can't make a joke about anything anymore. That's another thing, which kind of feeds in from my comedy background.
Right. Now, I heard you talk about this a little bit before, like on Story Smash or just in chatting with you, that really the environment has changed.
Yeah. It's like America. You know how comedians say that, oh, wow, you make a joke and nobody laughs and you go, ooh, tough room.
Yeah.
America now is a tough room. The whole country is one big tough room. I mean, you can't joke. You can't make even references to things. You know, like I saw some Ilhan Omar, you know, the congresswoman, she made a reference to how, you know, the 4 or 5 days of the Iran crisis were like, she felt like she had PTSD after. And she was getting all this grief saying, you know, like, saying that is an insult to our brave soldiers who really have PTSD. You know, like, everybody's made jokes about illnesses with that, you know, and it's always been okay. Nobody's saying, like, you know, people say, oh my God, I almost have a heart attack.
Yeah.
You know.
I just tweeted out, because I saw that movie Judy over the weekend, and I tweeted out, saw Judy the film. She was a hot mess, because she really was a hot mess. I mean, she was a drug addict.
She would have been the first to tell you that.
And she, and I was waiting for a little backlash on that, because of course she was troubled and had a lot of problems, but that, you know, I'm just kind of making it, you know, she's a hot mess, man. She was just young, very young, so she was beautiful, so she was hot, and she was a mess. I'm just saying, I was just putting it together. But let me ask you something, Peter, seriously. Where do you draw the line, though? Like, where is it not okay? You know, we're like, I mean, and I'm sure it goes case by case and situation by situation. But I interviewed somebody a couple of months ago, and, you know, he's 90. So he's older. So, of course, he gets a pass. But the first thing he said to me, I've never met the man in my life. And the first thing he said to me was, well, look at you. Aren't you stacked? That's the first thing he said. And he looked at me, you know, in a very leering, gross way. And then I had to just laugh it off, and okay, ha, ha, ha. And 2 other people were sitting there, and they laugh. And everybody's uncomfortable because it's not right. But I have to pretend no worries. And it is no worries, because I've kind of done, you know, I've done a lot of this before. But I wouldn't want my daughter to have to say no worries, as it were. Like, I know I'm okay because I can handle myself, but it's a little icky.
Yeah, it's icky. But, you know, I know this is going to sound weird, but it's icky, but in a way it's not offensive. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
You know, he said a stupid thing, and he's from a different generation, and he doesn't totally get it. And in a way, I find the worst sin of all of this stuff is that it's not funny. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I feel, you asked, like, where do you draw the line? I mean, if it's funny, if it's truly funny, I think you give it a pass.
Interesting.
I mean,
yeah.
you know,
no, I know what you're saying.
And
because you're putting too much weight on it to not just give it a pass.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and, you know, like Sarah Silverman gets away with things that almost nobody can get away with, A, because she's unbelievably funny, and she's a good actress. Mm-hmm. And you know, she's pretty, and she can get away with just about anything. Yeah. And, you know, thank God she can, because, you know, she's got something to say, and she's really funny. You know, and Chris Rock can get away with saying things. And, and
yeah, it's just, it's just, you know, when somebody does say something that's dumb, not only is it dumb and not funny, but, you form a whole opinion around them. That's like the first thing I think of now. That's it.
Yeah, well,
because it was dumb.
I mean, like, if you immediately decide this 90-year-old guy who said that, you know, is a jerk, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
He is. But that's it. You don't have to, you know, you have to, like, it's like everybody's sitting at home just waiting to be offended like they're dying to be offended. Everybody just wants to be offended. They're going online, cruising along. What offends me? Yeah. And then they, you know, and now they have this platform to kind of at least, you know, fight back.
Hashtag it.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, what about like the Kansas City Chiefs and the tomahawk chop and that sort of thing?
Unbelievably cringeworthy that they still do that.
Yeah.
I think unbelievable. I was watching that yesterday. Like, I can't believe they're still doing that.
I can't believe it either. So what is that?
I mean, where are these people? How do you find 65,000 people?
So we would want them to know, so the line has been crossed in that case. It's just so stupid, like you said, and it's not funny. But also, like, if somebody says I'm offended, then just don't do it and move on. You know, something so blatant like that.
I mean, you know, everybody's like, well, we've been doing this for years. You know, you don't get grandfathered in because, you know, I mean, you know, we realize that certain things are stupid, you know, or certain things are just gross.
So in the book, hashtag me as well, the protagonist, Arnie Pepper, where'd you come up with his name?
I don't know. I have a godson whose name is Jamo Pepper.
Oh.
Jameson Pepper. And I just
What a
thought,
great name.
yeah.
Anything with pepper is going to be good.
He lives in Paris.
Wow.
You know, he was brought up in Paris.
Wow.
His mother is a dear friend of mine.
Wow.
And I don't know, you know, Pepper just sounded like kind of a sports name.
Yeah, it's so great. You can just see it on the back of a jersey easily.
Yeah.
My favorite name on the back of a jersey was Jack Ham of the Sailors, because it was just Ham. And that's it.
Yeah. I remember there was a guy on the Minnesota Vikings named Jeff Seaman. And you'd hear the announcer going, Seaman's all over the field. You know, like, you're like, hey. And, you know, I was a kid then, so it was like the
hilarious.
funniest. It was like the funniest thing in the world.
It's still funny. All right, you guys, before we get to Peter's story, I didn't even tell you the topic yet. The topic today is going to a health spa, right?
Yes.
Yeah, going to a health spa. I don't think I've been to many health spas. I mean, I've gotten massages and I've gotten, you know, now and then, but boy, it's a few and far between, like an actual place where you go and spend a couple hours. You know, like a massage is 50 minutes. It's like therapy for your body.
Yeah.
But a spa
and not only is it like therapy in that way, but for me, I actually start getting bored.
I know, because
you know, like, just like in therapy, I start getting bored.
Is it because of the repetitions, or like how they're so clinical sometimes?
Like, I'm ready to leave. You know, like after like 30 minutes.
I know what you mean. Sometimes
like,
I want to look over my shoulder and like, could you just surprise me, or, you know,
well,
mix
that's
it up?
why I get, you know, like, if you go to, you know, just the massage place and you find the Thai masseuse.
Yeah.
They do interesting things.
They jump on your back.
Yeah, and they don't act like your body is just the next one that's come along on the assembly line.
Yeah.
You know, they find things. They actually put the effort in.
Yeah, they do get on your back. Have you had that?
Yeah.
They're so tiny.
Yeah, they're so tiny. And they're so good. And they're so strong.
Yeah, they use their elbows and their knees a lot. So it's not just their hands.
And, you know, and I ask them not to, like, you know, I don't want to be in pain.
Yeah.
I know most people do, like, you know, like
a real, you want a medium touch.
Yeah, I want to just like relax and zone out.
You can also, you know, request like, okay, I'm done now. I think you can just say that.
I know. It's amazing what you can say and what you feel like
you shouldn't or can't.
Yeah,
it's so funny, isn't it?
It's unbelievable.
I also turn the music off in those rooms because I can't, relaxing to that kind of meditation music, that is not relaxing to me.
Yeah, sometimes it's not relaxing. Sometimes I don't mind it because it's like, it's just
enough.
So, you know, nondescript, but yeah.
All in all, I would say massages, thumbs up. That's what I would say. I do love getting them.
I wrote that massage episode of Seinfeld when Jerry's dating the masseuse and she won't give him a massage. You know, and we kind of like made it seem like it was date rape.
Oh my God. Wait, now was that inspired by a massage you had, or?
It was inspired by a masseuse I had who was really, really good. But, you know, like I was thinking like, you know, a friend asked me, what does she look like? And I said, you know, she's not really, you know, attractive to me. But then I was thinking like, wow, you know, that would be really interesting. If you date her, you don't really want the sex. What you want is the massage.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so true.
And, you know, getting Jerry to try to to like, having Jerry trying to force her into giving him a massage.
And of course, she gave one to Kramer.
Yeah.
She gave one to George. She gave one to everyone else, right?
She gave one to Kramer.
And
of course, he's just going on and on about, like, oh, she rubs with love, Jerry. And, he takes it as like it's like she's cheating on him.
Yeah. Do you ever get tired of talking about Seinfeld?
Not really, People want to know, and, it's not like it's so pervasive in my life that, like I'm just sick of it. No, and it's fun.
Also because it holds up, so there's like no shame at all.
Yeah.
Because it's all good stuff.
Yeah, I never mind talking about it.
Yeah. I think I mentioned to you that I was in the Peace Corps in 1996 and 97. And before I went to the Peace Corps, I'd gone to these classrooms in this school and talked about what I was going to be doing. And then they, part of their assignment was to write to me. And so I would get a stack of letters from these kids, like 60 letters, a lot of letters. And every person, every single kid in every letter, swear to God, talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers and what was going on and Seinfeld.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Isn't that unbelievable? Like they're
Which
telling
was so
you,
unnecessary.
They're telling you what I missed.
You're one of the few people in the Peace Corps who was actually stationed in L.A. Could you imagine joining the Peace Corps and they send you to like Brentwood? There's a lot of women who really need your help.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, I'd be a fish out of water over there, for sure.
Where did you go again?
I went to the Kingdom of Tonga.
Oh, wow.
In the South Pacific, yeah. So
Cool.
It was very much island life.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely looks pretty on the postcards and in pictures, but when you get into it, it's more like that show Survivor,
yeah.
With mud and, just issues, a lot of issues, no electricity, that sort of thing. Anyway, you guys, listen, before we get to Peter's story about a health spa, I did want to remind you to, here's what I really want you to do. I'm going to give you just the one call to action today, just the one. And that is follow Story Smash on Instagram, because that's where I post the pictures of all the action. Peter, you are not on Instagram.
I am on Instagram. I just don't really use it much.
It,
I probably should use it more.
What is it? Is it at Peter Mehlman, or is it at
I think so.
The Peter Mehlman?
That's how little I use it.
It's a
but
hassle,
it's just,
man.
it's,
but I will say I post a lot of good stuff, and you can pull that up and look at them even if you're not on Instagram at instagram.com/storysmash. It's just that easy. That's all I'm saying. Do you see how I just cut that short?
You did a beautiful job of it.
Thank you. All right, you guys, he's here right now. You've heard him, Peter Mehlman. He is a comedy writer and an author and an artist. By the way, you did the cover of the book.
Yes.
Which is beautiful. Do you just doodle? Because I'm just telling the audience, it's like a series of, it's like a neighborhood, really, of buildings and signs. And but it's a lot of squares and a lot of triangles, a lot of shapes. Mm-hmm. And is that what you do when you're just doodling?
There's a lot of that. I think the biggest influence on my doodling is that, my father was a contractor, an engineer, and there were always architectural plans around the house. And that's where it really got me doodling. There's something about I always, I didn't know what any of it meant, but I always liked those kind of lines.
Yeah, and it's a lot of straight lines, and then the diagonal one for the door.
Yeah, and balance.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very precise, and it's a lot of nice paper and nice pencils, and it's very thought out.
And I just do it while I'm watching TV, because I guess, only having one source of stimulation at a time is just not enough.
Yeah. No, I think that I always do something while I'm watching TV. Very rarely would I do nothing. Do you know what I mean? I'm always I have my hands doing something. Anyway, okay, yeah, so this is your book that we were just talking about, hashtag me as well. And as you know, Peter was a writer and producer on Seinfeld for 9 years. And then you've written so many good books, Peter. Mandela Was Late, and It Won't Always Be This Great. And then you did my very favorite project in the world when you hosted, and I assume you wrote, the show The Narrow World of Sports.
Yes.
Which was you working with people like Danica Patrick and Tony Hawk and really famous sports idols.
Yeah, Kobe Bryant.
Which was crazy. And then, you don't talk to them at all about sports. And
Hardly.
that was kind of the hook, and it was so funny.
Well, I just, the whole idea was to ask them questions that nobody else would ask.
Right.
I was kind of like just driven by, the completely shallow, idiotic questions that they ask on ESPN.
Yeah, over and over again.
Which is, in this book too, in me as well. There's a lot of, griping about, how shallow and dumb ESPN is,
right.
How it dumbs down our entire world.
Would you ever want to do more of that?
I would like to do more of that.
Because it seems to me that anybody would like to have a conversation with you. I mean, these guys, and, they're coming through L.A. Everybody's coming through L.A. at some point.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just like, it's such a pleasure to break through all the cliches. Like I asked Kobe Bryant, if you score 50 points and the team loses, why do you have to feel bad? And he goes, I don't.
Oh,
and he just starts laughing. He goes,
perfect.
I don't. That's
Perfect.
like the dream.
Well, and you see how happy your guests are. Danica Patrick was like losing it laughing on the couch.
Yeah, oh, she's a doll.
So cute, so adorable, and super accomplished, obviously. And then you have written some great articles for mostly progressive news outlets like the Huffington Post. And you did topics like Mel Gibson, O.J. Simpson, Saddam Hussein. Who's next?
Well, I'm not really doing stuff for them anymore. More recently I've been doing much more for like the LA Times and the Washington Post and the New York Times. I'm looking into, right now I'm thinking of doing this piece about how, like we baby boomers, where we've been different in absolutely everything else. Now we're at this stage now where we're not reminiscing about the good old days. We're actually reminiscing to try to determine if any time in our life was nearly as bad as it is now. We're going back and reminiscing about the worst times of our life because things are so crazy and nutty right now.
Yeah.
I went to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at Quentin Tarantino's movie theater, the New Beverly.
Yeah, right.
And, it's like going back in time. It's this great old-time theater. They serve White Castle burgers. And,
wow.
And it's just so great. And the trailers are like trailers for Sharon Tate's movie with Dean Martin.
Oh, my gosh. How interesting.
And commercials from the 60s.
Oh, wow.
And, I turned to, the woman I was with, and I said, this is like, okay, the world's not so horrible. This is great. This is great here.
Yeah.
And I mean, imagine going to see something from Quentin Tarantino to assure you that the world isn't so horrible.
Well, we do have to be very, very grateful for the, tiny little things that happen every day. I play a lot of tennis, and that kind of grounds me not every morning, but a lot of mornings. And that's and you live near the ocean. Do you go out and go to the beach?
Not as much as I should, but I'm going to start.
Walking, right?
Yeah, I had a broken. I broke my foot playing basketball about 4 months ago,
God.
I'm just like back.
Oh God, is that healed completely, or do you always have that problem now?
The break is all healed, but I wrenched my ankle, came down so badly that my Achilles was strained,
God.
my heel hurt. So like the heel and the Achilles are like tight a lot, and now that it's the quote unquote cold weather that we've been having here.
It does get chilly at night, I will say that.
And in the morning, like in Santa Monica near the
45
beach,
degrees.
it's like 45 degrees.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's
that's
chilly.
like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
But all in all, the sun is shining.
I mean, I've completely sold out. I don't have 1 ounce of New York left in me. I'm freezing if it's under 70.
Yeah.
And, but I don't feel alone with that. Everybody's kind of like that. Even the ants in LA can't take. Like if it rains,
Yeah.
ants come in my house.
Yeah.
If it's under 60 degrees, ants come in my house. If it gets like really hot, ants come in
Maybe
my
you
house.
need an exterminator.
I mean, but you can't keep them out if it's like 72 degrees.
Yeah, they're cold.
I never see one.
Yeah,
If it's perfect-
a balmy 72 to 77.
Yeah, I mean,
That's nice
the
weather.
ants are spoiled out here.
Well, listen, it's expensive to live here, so at least we got that going for us. All right, like I said, his latest book is getting rave reviews, and it's called #MeAsWell. You can find it at your local bookstore or go over to Amazon.com. I ordered mine from a bookstore. They'll get you anything you want. You know what I mean? When you walk into a bookstore, if they don't have it, you just ask, and they'll get it.
Bookstores are basically just showrooms now.
Basically, they could be like that, exactly. You guys can find Peter over on Twitter at Peter Mehlman. All right, you guys, whoever you are, put your hands together for Peter Mehlman.
The great thing about this is it ties into your questions about Seinfeld, my story does.
Oh, good.
In 1994, my third season working at Seinfeld, there was the earthquake, January 17th, this massive earthquake, and it trashed our stage.
Wow.
And so our season ended up lasting a month longer than it was scheduled to last. And even though I had been on the show for 3 years, I had never written anything fictional before then. So I was always struggling with creativity, always trying to bring creativity out of myself. And Larry David did that by managing to capture the smallest thoughts that always went through his head. All of us have great thoughts, and they just go through our heads, and we let them go, and we forget them.
Right.
And, I was working on trying to be more cognizant of the little thoughts that went through my head. So that's the backdrop. I was very kind of focused on creativity and my own inner life.
Yeah.
So the season goes on an extra month, and it's really exhausting. It's a long season to begin with, and then it spreads out an extra month, and I was really tired, and it was like, and in the first week of May, my friend calls me and we're talking, and she tells me she's just gotten back from Canyon Ranch, which is, as I now know, an incredibly expensive high-end health spa in Tucson, Arizona. And she says it's great. You should just go there and relax. And I go, okay, I'm doing it. Sight unseen. I just book it. Do I realize it's $600 a day? No. I just go. So I get to the spa, and the first thing I see is Courtney Love being held up by two guys as she tries to walk, because I think she was like drying out. I'm like, oh boy, this is some high-end decadence here. So I get in, and it's a Saturday in May, and I get into my room, and I just flick on the TV, and I wind up watching NBA playoff games the entire day. $600, I'm watching NBA playoff games.
How's the room?
The room is perfectly nice.
Okay.
And so the next day I feel a little silly, so I start thinking, so in the morning I decide I really should, at least go on a hike.
Yeah.
So they, of course, make me buy hiking shoes, because they won't let me hike in a pair of high Nikes. So I buy these shoes. I got to say, they were very comfortable, and I still have them. So
Okay.
I still haven't gotten my money's worth, but that's
20
beside the
years
point.
later.
Yeah, that's beside the point. So I go on this hike, and not only do I start feeling like a little, altitude and sickness, and, it's so dry down there. I mean, this is real desert. But the worst part about it is all anybody's talking about, everybody else on the hike, all they're talking about is health and fitness and, and what to eat. And it's like so boring, like I'm bored to death. So I go back, I get back to the ranch and I'm walking around and I find a group of smokers sitting around at a health spa. There's like 6 people who are just sitting around in a circle and talking and laughing and smoking away. And I'm thinking, well, these are the cool people.
Yeah, this is your crowd.
So I hang out with them. So in 2 days at Canyon Ranch, I've watched NBA playoff games and taken up smoking.
Did you get a massage?
I did get a massage. I don't even remember it. But, yeah.
Did you do like a mud bath?
No. I remember like on the 3rd day, I think I played tennis. I just hit tennis balls with a coach there. And, and there was like a basketball court, so I shot around alone. Nothing that I couldn't have done in L.A. just as easily.
Of course. And what about the food?
Well, this is the interesting part. The food was very tiny portions, pretty good. It was pretty good, but it was like really super tiny, healthy portions. But the interesting thing was, it was Mother's Day weekend.
Oh, man.
So the whole spa was basically me and a bunch of mothers and their daughters.
Yeah, that were being treated for Mother's Day.
Yeah, and you would, so like I would be there, and they had what was called captain's tables. They wanted everybody to kind of mix.
Yeah.
So I was, every day, every meal I met with a different group of people.
Oh, boy.
And, that was, most of it, like, again, they're talking about health and things like that.
That's
so
tough.
On this 3rd night, I'm sitting there, and there's this mother and daughter with me. And the conversation is, like, going along, and the daughter who's sitting next to me leans over and whispers, "I fucking hate my mother."
No way.
I'm like,
no way.
Whoa.
Oh, no.
So the next day, I decide.
Did you say, like, I'm so sorry? I mean, I don't know.
I just laughed, actually.
Yeah.
I said that, I was like, basically, good to know.
Yeah.
So the next day, I'm hanging out with this girl, this daughter, and we're walking along, and, we had this one great experience because we came like nose to nose with a bobcat.
Oh, wow.
Which I later found out, like, there are people who have been working at Canyon Ranch for like years, and they've never actually seen one.
Oh, wow.
And we're there like one day, and I'm like, and it just like looks at me, it just looks at us. And then just like we make one little move and it tears away.
What did you? Was its eyes glowing, as it were, like at night, or
no?
This
was during the day.
And what did it look like? A large cat?
Yeah,
a house cat.
with like a tufted ear and
no collar.
No collar. Yeah.
How interesting!
Yeah.
I've never seen one.
Yeah, I mean,
That's cool,
it was a beautiful animal.
I bet.
I bet. And I love all those.
Where did that girl live? What state?
She lived in I think, Maryland.
That's just interesting. It's pretty fascinating to come together in a moment in time, as it were, and at least to hook up with somebody, or not even hook up, but I mean to befriend someone, because I'm sure there's a lot of couples as well. And then it would be boring. Was it also a rehab? Is that why Courtney
Well,
Love
I mean,
was there?
certain people would go there to, it wasn't really a rehab, but certain people who had maybe been through rehab and are trying to, really get healthy would go there.
Yeah. Did you ever go to that place in Phoenix? I can't think of the name of it, but like all the presidents have stayed there.
No.
It's kind of a ranchy place in Phoenix.
No, I never.
That's what I kept thinking about, because I've stayed there, and what it is, in a word, is outdated. You know what I mean?
Is it a rehab?
No, it's not a rehab, but it's a...
because Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein... Oh, no. It was Harvey Weinstein and the guy from House of Cards, Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey, they were at this same place for like sex addiction
brother.
together, and it was also in
Ay.
Arizona.
Can you imagine being in that circle? Like, if those two guys were in the same, sharing circle, you would just be like, I am tripping right now. Have you ever met Harvey Weinstein, by the way?
For a second.
I can't believe how he still goes out to dinner. I mean, he's still, he's with friends. You see him drinking a champagne or whatever.
Well, that's a big thing in my book. That's a big thing in my book.
I haven't gotten there yet. Darn it.
No, it's a big thing of like, he wonders, and I wonder, can Matt Lauer go out to lunch?
I hope not.
Can Louis C.K. just walk down the street? I wonder about the day-to-day lives.
He's on tour. I mean, he's doing dates, so he's got his fans.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. But have you been back to a health spa since?
No. But I haven't given you the crescendo of the story.
Oh, go.
This is So remember, I'm completely obsessed with Seinfeld and trying to drag creativity out of myself and be cognizant of my own observations. So I'm walking after the Bobcat. I'm walking around with this woman and this girl on the around, and we're standing on a little bridge over a dry waterbed, and we start making out, and I'm thinking to myself, oh wow, isn't it amazing how every girl has their own little kissing system? Lips here, hands here, this, that, sigh here, hands move, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the middle of making out and I'm not even in the moment because I'm so obsessed, so focused on my own thoughts.
Wow.
I'm like not even in the moment doing this. I'm just, and that's when I realized that I really need to somehow back off, somehow figure out how to live an existential life while still, learning to be more creative. And, so that was kind of like a big moment in my life.
Yeah, that's a moment of clarity. At least you could acknowledge it. You saw it and could say that to yourself in your head, man, I got to separate this shit out.
Yeah.
So at least you said it.
Yeah, at least, at least I had a moment of clarity. And,
I don't think you're alone.
I left that, she left before me and, and just said, thanks for getting me through this.
Yeah. Did it escalate with her? Did it escalate?
No.
It maybe could have, but you weren't in the moment.
It could have.
I mean, not in her mom's room, but in your room.
No, yeah. But it was it was kind of just a perfect encounter.
That's very sweet. That's very sweet. Yeah.
It was,
vacation fun.
It didn't have to go any far. This whole
Sweet.
thing
It was
about
sweet.
this whole American ideal of closing the deal or whatever.
Well, but you might just be saying that because you know that you didn't escalate it.
Yeah, I mean, sure, I could have pushed it, and I could easily, but what?
What can you do then? So what are 3 things you can do to separate things out? Separation of work, creativity, and communicating with somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could get to the point where you instantly realize that you're in a moment you should be, enjoying.
Yeah.
And, just enjoy it.
Your dog is licking the back of your ears. He's so cute.
I know he was.
I love that dog, Ike. Yeah, so there's something about that. And
I think you can, as once you start being aware of what you're doing, you could shift the left turn, you could just, okay, I had that thought, and maybe you'll remember it later.
Yeah.
Or maybe you'll jot it down. You'll jot down the tiniest note and then completely let it go.
Yeah.
You have to. Creativity's tough, and
Stuff gets
and
gets you
especially
in,
and especially with Seinfeld because it was so based on.
nothing.
Always disagreed with that. I think
Yeah.
it's based on, like a comedy of manners.
Yeah.
It's all. That's why it's probably still so popular because the situations are universal.
Yeah.
And they're tiny, and they're things that people can relate to.
When these things come to you, do you generally jot them down?
Yes,
Yeah, you have to.
I have to.
I started doing stand-up again almost a year ago, and I jot everything down. So the other day I'm in a movie with my boyfriend, and we're watching 1917, okay? It's a war picture.
When does it take place?
And at about 20 minutes in, he turns to me, and you know what he says? He goes, "You up?" Like, like I do fall asleep in movies now and then, but he said it so casually, like, "You up?" Like, yeah, I'm up, man. It's 1917. So that was funny to me, and I had to get out my notebook and jot that down.
That's really a great moment.
Because you can see that thrown into almost any situation as we get
That's a great
older,
moment, yeah.
going into the movies. It just, sometimes it's like you're paying, $14 to take a good nap. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not what your intention is.
It's hard to get a good nap like that at home.
For some reason, right? Sometimes I think about that. Like, when I'm falling asleep in a movie, I think like, okay, so just wake the fuck up. But remember this. Remember how you felt. And then when you get home and you're laying on the couch, and do that. And then you'll be sleeping.
I mean, like, if you have a thought after you turn off the light and you're lying in bed and you have a thought and you don't write it down,
you're crazy. You have to write it down.
It's like 98% you're not going to remember it.
Now, I love your stand-up. I've only seen it maybe 2 times in the lab at the Improv. What I find funny about your stand-up is you don't seem to care about the audience.
No.
As much as other comics, because a lot of comics approach stand-up like it's, as it were, a conversation with the audience, and there's a back and a forth, and the audience kind of feeds them. You don't choose that path.
Right. No, I find their presence simply annoying.
But you want their laughter.
Yeah, but I want them to stop so I can get to the next thing.
Oh, that's so funny. Do you really think it's a time thing? No way. No way. How much time are you comfortable doing?
A stand-up?
Yeah.
I'm super comfortable. I really like doing like 15 to 20.
Yeah, that's a perfect length.
Yeah.
Because it makes it worth going out.
Yeah.
And if something doesn't land, you can come back. You can get it back somehow,
Yeah, and, that's gone up. That's the good thing about that is that, you gradually go up. There was a time when you were happy when you felt really good with 8 minutes.
Sure.
And then, you keep going up, so it's great. And,
I'm at 7.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's
it's
really
good. Yeah, I get put up at Flappers a lot. But the Improv is tough. Even though, I've done Story Smash there 31 times.
They are really hard. They're really hard.
They
to
really
get
are.
in. I mean,
well, there's a lot of
I've
talent.
always
but
done great there. I mean, like in the main room of the Improv, I
Yeah.
have just that's been my favorite place. I've just
Such a
killed it
great
there.
place, yeah.
Because the good thing for me is that I'm so kind of out of step with all the other comedians that it's like I'm like an intermission for the audience, like nobody,
catch your breath.
Nobody's yelling at them, I'm barely acknowledging their existence, I mean, it's like
You're doing your own thing, and at the end of the day, that is what comedians need to do. They need to carve their own path. I mean, there can be, like, I go to a lot of open mics, and there's usually 9 comics go up within the hour. And I would say I find 4 interesting. I find about half interesting. And that's pretty good ratio, actually.
Yeah. Is it interesting from their lines or from their persona?
From their persona. In other words, I believe them. I believe them, and I think they have something to say, and I don't think they're just phoning it in. And I think they listen to their sets, and I think they make adjustments. Yeah, the worst is when people don't make adjustments or don't, and they just start doing this thing like it's a script, like it's rote. And that can be... but hey, man, it's the path, and there's no way out of stand-up comedy. You just have to go out and perform.
Yeah.
And you're not always going to perform with other great people like yourself.
You know, when I was driving here, I was talking to a friend about and we were back on this subject of, how everyone's so touchy now.
Yeah.
And I said to my friend, everything was so much better when only the Jews were so touchy. And I was thinking, oh, that would be good, but I don't like doing, I have one Jewish joke and that's all I'm doing.
Yeah, and how's that one go?
Oh, I love this one. I was talking about the march in Charlottesville, and those guys were marching along shouting, "Jews will not replace us."
Right.
And I'm like, I mean, that's so silly. Of course Jews aren't going to replace them. I mean, it would mean taking a huge pay cut.
That's really funny.
That joke just smashes every time. I just love that joke. Even when Seinfeld, I didn't want to do any, Jewish-related humor until I had something that was just irresistible, which was, the guy converting to Judaism purely for the jokes.
Yeah. That was priceless. I like those episodes where they were in a stand-up club. There are not that many of them.
Yeah,
really.
Very few.
Very few, but I always kind of like that set, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say maybe once a season there would be something where his stand-up would be
Well, because
part
they
of
want to reference back, I'm sure, to what he does for a living or something, and how bored they were. Always so bored. Like Elaine would say, he'd say, "Hey, you coming down to hear me?" And she'd say, "You doing anything new?" He'd say, "No." And she'd say, "Yeah." And that, boy, I can relate to that.
Yeah, there was that one scene in the coffee shop where George was pretending he didn't know Jerry in front of somebody else. So he goes, "What's up?" And Jerry's like, "I'm a stand-up comic." And George is like, "Oh, you mean kind of like, what's the deal with this?" Or, "Don't you like it?" He
imitated him.
Yeah, that was so great.
And Jerry's like, "I'm doing you a favor.
I know.
Not letting on that I know you, and now you're dissing me."
I know. The great thing is that, real Jerry went along with that, because it was basically, dissing
ripping
what
on
he
him.
does.
Yeah. Oh, God, he always seems like such a good sport.
Yeah.
I mean, just never fails. Have you done Comedians in Cars, getting coffee with him?
No.
I wonder what car he would choose for you. What do you think?
Something like a Buick Regal.
My dad had
an Uber.
My dad had this car called a Dodge Dynasty, and when he went to sell it, and it was like a blue book value or something or other, and it said the first sentence, and this was like in a serious, like a publication, it said, "The Dodge Dynasty is one of the most unattractive cars on the road."
Oh my God!
Like it just called out his car. Super funny.
I took my road test in a Dodge Dart.
No kidding. Was it your parents?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mother's car, Dodge Dart.
That's funny.
And the great thing was it was like there was like an ice storm.
Oh God, really?
Yeah, there had been like an ice storm, so the roads were kind of icy. So I was allowed to drive like 2 miles an hour.
So you couldn't fail.
I couldn't fail.
Yeah, because you're going so slow. That's crazy. They didn't cancel the driver's test for the day.
I know. It was great though. It was really great. It was a tremendous benefit.
Here in Los Angeles, my daughter is in 7th grade, and when they were taking the school pictures, they had to cancel them one day. It was due to wind because they take the photos outside. Mm-hmm. And due to the wind.
And the girls have long hair.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I thought only in LA.
Only in LA. I mean, like, wind. Can you imagine?
There's too much sun on the east bank of the school.
In Minnesota, they're like taking those school pictures, like with 93 feet of snow and,
Well, they're in the gymnasium.
Yeah.
They're in the gymatorium. Yeah, they're not. Hey, so listen, I hope I see you out doing more stand-up. I really want to see more.
I'm glad you reminded me because I have to, check in with the improv. It's Monday.
That's it. I call flappers on Mondays, and I tell them the days I'm available, which is I pretty much say every day. Mm-hmm. And then they always book me on the day I didn't say. Isn't that funny?
They book you like 3 weeks later.
But it had nothing to do with what I said.
No.
What is that?
It's...
And of course we do it.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
I know.
Anyway, I'm glad you're back out there doing it. And then, of course, come back and play Story Smash.
Anytime. Anytime.
You were so funny the last show. Peter, you were so funny. You one storyteller went up, or comic, whatever. They told their story, and I said, Peter Mehlman, and you said, you go up. Yeah, I didn't care for it.
I know.
You're so truthful. It's hilarious.
I know, and yet at the same time, I'm so aware of not being mean because, these are people that are getting up there. I don't want to be mean, like I'm
Right, and they're
trying to
also-
say it in the funniest possible way.
And they're also telling true stories. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's not like stand-up where they might be doing something not about them.
Right.
And so you're very kind.
And they're
but
really
even-
only working for a cookie, so.
Yeah. Well, listen, they could win up to 14 cookies. So
Right.
there's that.
There's that.
I do bake all the cookies. All right, you guys. Listen, thank you so much, Peter. That
what
was
a pleasure.
a great
It's-
story. Thank you.
This is such a great choice of place. We're
Yeah.
on the top floor of a restoration hardware store in West Hollywood.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's like an English garden up here.
Did you ever look at the furniture in this store?
I haven't, but I used to like restoration
Oh,
hardware.
yeah. No, it's very beautiful. But for the most part, you have to have like a 30,000 square foot house to fit it. Everything is assuming that you have 15 best friends that might drop by today.
Right.
Like
But-
there's so much seating
But you know what? There's really, they used to be a restoration hardware store in Santa Monica.
on 3rd Street Promenade.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was the best thing to get there? Their towels were incredible.
Yeah.
They had the best towels.
Yeah.
So
They really have nice stuff. Good hardware.
I should actually look to see
Yeah,
if
man.
they still
We'll
have
just
some
take
towels.
take a walk downstairs and browse.
Could
All
I,
right,
could
you
I
guys.
try those towels on, please? Is there-
You come out with
Could you
just
imagine
a towel,
the towel
on,
around your waist? What do you think?
walking around Restoration Hardware, open a bed. Just take a lay
That would
down.
be really funny, like trying on towels.
All right, you guys, I got to wrap it up. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. Find Peter over there on Twitter at Peter Mehlman, and also find me over there at Storyworthy. Would you do that? I try to be funny on Twitter. I try to tweet the funny. I hold back. I try to hold back when I just want to say something, but I don't. I wait. You're good on Twitter, Peter.
Yeah, I try.
Some people are so good on Twitter, and I think,
Yeah.
do they have a job? How can they be so on top of it?
Well, when you go out to a Starbucks at 10:15 in LA, you realize that nobody's got a job.
It is odd when it'll be like a Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock and the movie theater's packed.
I know.
That's very funny. I don't
Quentin
know why that is.
Tarantino has 2 o'clock in the afternoon shows sometimes.
That's nice. That's a good
I'm,
time.
I'm going to see Clute
Oh,
on
wow.
January 27th. It's 2 p.m. in the afternoon.
Clute, the original from
Yes,
the 70s.
yes,
And who is
yes.
that again?
Jane Fonda and Donald Sutherland.
Donald Sutherland. Interesting.
It was what she won the Academy Award for. It was like
wow.
her greatest performance.
Oh, fun. Oh, that'll be really good.
And she's just, so good and so beautiful at that time.
Yeah, sure.
She's just, ugh.
Can you say that?
I know. You feel actually bad. Like
No,
you can't
come
say
on, I'm
that Jane
jagging
Fonda
you.
was like
Oh, no.
gorgeous.
She's still stunning.
Yeah.
She's an amazing woman. I love her.
What a life. she's
What a
lived.
life.
She's-
Just unbelievable.
She rode every wave, and she's been right and she's been wrong, and
Yeah.
no matter what, she was there.
She is a strong woman. Yeah,
She
she's
was
definitely
there.
an inspiration. Yeah.
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 Whether you like her or hate her, she's,
Maybe I
she's-
can get her to do Story Smash with you.
That would be great.
She might. I had Larry King on. I did. He took a call on stage. His flip phone rang, and he opened up his jacket and he pulled out his flip phone and he said, "Hello." And I said, "Okay, folks, we're going to take a minute here while Larry takes a phone call." And then he chatted for a couple minutes, and we went back to the regular scheduled program. It worked out fine.
Hey, God bless Larry King.
I love him, man. I love that guy.
I'd like to look that good at 400 years old.
Hey, you guys, thank you again so much for tuning in today. And don't forget to head over to StoryWorthyPodcast.com. All right, you guys, on behalf, one more time, of the very talented Peter Mehlman, thank you so much.
This was such a pleasure.
I got to have you sign my book.
Okay.
My name is Christine Blackburn, saying, make it a story-worthy week.
Follow me.
Thanks for joining us on the Storyworthy podcast. We'll be back next week with all new stories. Subscribe to Storyworthy on iTunes and visit the Storyworthy website at storyworthypodcast.com.
You made it. Checked out of office to check into the sweet views of this place where the kids aren't asking for the Wi-Fi.
Mom, can we go to the pool?
And when you're with Amex, it's not if it's going to happen, but when. American Express. Don't live life without it.
Membership fees apply after free trial. Cancel anytime.
Can I be real for a second? That goal you have to exercise and eat better, you really can do it. But nobody is going to do it for you. And nobody has to, because you can do it if you have the right tools and a community that cares about helping you get results. And that's us, Beachbody. It's as convenient as your TV or laptop, but you need to decide that you're worth it. Let us help you succeed. Here's how. Go to beachbody.com to claim your free membership and start feeling great.
With Kroger brand products from Bakers, you can make all your favorite things this holiday season. Because Kroger brand's proven quality products come at exceptionally low prices. And with a money-back quality guarantee, every dish is sure to be a favorite.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Whether you shop delivery, pickup, or in-store, Kroger brand has all your favorite things. Bakers, fresh for everyone.